Hey guys, welcome back to the garage. As most of you guys know by now, I injured my finger working on the Z recently, and I won't be able to work on the car again for at least a month, but I did want to share some of the work that I was doing right up until the accident because I wanted to make a point. And that point today is I, along with some of you most likely, need to take safety a lot more seriously in the garage. But if you don't feel like watching this entire episode, I totally get it. But please, before you go, skip to the end of the video and listen to what I have to say at the last few minutes. So I was working on fixing up some rust spots as usual, but I've shown you guys how I go about doing stuff like this multiple times at this point, so let's focus on something else. So as we're watching this, I'm gonna count and somewhat nitpick on all the ways that I am ignoring safety precautions and proper PPE during this, relatively short episode. Okay, so at this point I should probably explain what actually happened to my finger. The way that I injured myself is by freely grinding the metal away from the shelf exactly like this, and in addition to that, I had completely inadequate hand protection like I pointed out earlier. I was trying to clean up the edges where I had cut the metal, and the metal plate that I was grinding got caught downwards between the disc and the horizontal shelf, just smashing my right index finger against the spinning disc. It happened for only a fraction of a second, but it was enough to completely shave off my finger almost down to the bone, and I earned myself a trip to the emergency room. Again, I'm not going to show you the footage, again, because I can't bear to look at it, but trust me on this, even though this machine looks pretty harmless, in some very careless hands, like my own, it can do significant damage. I'm actually getting really anxious right now just watching myself do this, so we'll go ahead and move on. So yeah, that's really what I was up to right up until the accident. I was just cutting and grinding more metal plates to completely replace this crossbar, since I don't want to weld the new frame piece on top of the old metal and invite more rust problems down the line. But back on the whole safety note, I really do think things have a tendency to go wrong when we get a bit too comfortable or overconfident. Like how it's not really people who just started driving that get into massive car accidents. It's always the reckless teenagers who think they're hot shit after just 1 year of driving. And you guys know that slightly uneasy feeling that you get when you unbox a brand new power tool and you're at least initially very careful because you know it can be very dangerous and you're not too comfortable with it? Hang on to that feeling. That's healthy caution and respect that you should always retain at all times. But honestly, my injury in itself is not a big deal. It could have been a lot worse. I could have lost dexterity or had nerve damage, and I only lost a fingernail, not an entire finger, which according to the ER doctor happens a lot more frequently than you would expect, especially to woodworkers. So I'm considering this as a valuable wake-up call, and all things considered, I got off easy. Because watching this and editing this footage that we just saw together was very uncomfortable and eye-opening for me, because when I really closely examined what I was doing and the risks that I'm constantly taking on while I'm working on the car, both knowingly and unknowingly, I realized it was just a matter of time until something like this happened. I constantly get little cuts and bruises, and I brush those off because some minor injuries are really unavoidable whenever you're working with your hands a lot. But how much is your eyesight worth to you? How much is your finger worth? How much is your hearing or lungs worth? The funny thing is, I have spent literally tens of thousands of dollars for various tools and parts in the garage, and yet I weld without a helmet because I bought a cheap and unusable one. I sometimes don't wear a respirator because it's on the other side of the garage and I'm feeling lazy. I use $5 goggles that would do nothing against a grinding wheel breaking and sending shards towards my eyes. And in hindsight, this is all senseless, irresponsible, and quite frankly, idiotic. It took a trip to the ER for me to learn my lesson. So if you're getting into this hobby yourself, don't be like me. Take your health and safety seriously. You shouldn't need an accident to know that. You bet your ass I will moving forward. I'll see you guys next time.